Hey guys, Mark Spencer, Spencer Speed Shop, Spencer Cycle Shop. This may seem like a idiot video or post, but I just want to share some things with you guys, okay? I'm going over the valve lash on my Hemi. Couple specialty tools. I have dedicated lash setting feeler gauges for intake and exhaust, but there's never a problem that I've seen, and it's a fairly mild roller for a street car. You know, it's a solid roller. I got Iski Easy Roll bush lifters. These are missile roller rockers that are set up for my taller intake and exhaust valves. They're plus 200. So on a Hemi, the valve springs go that way and that way, the valve stems themselves. So my rockers had to be machined with special pedestals up and out to my specifications to get the correct wipe on push rod. And by the way, my push rods are solid tool steel top fuel push rods. Why? Well, I'm running around 11.5 inches on the exhaust valve push rod. That's a lot of push rod length, and the biggest one I can get into my engine is 3/8. You can't go much bigger. You'll blow into the intake ports on these Hemis. Factories are 5/16. I can't deal with adjustable push rods. They're shit. So anyway, one of the main things I want to say is I'm going over to valve lash. I've got my valve covers off. By the way, these are my one-piece tubes that I machined up. They're from Diversitech. I made them. This is so my plugs could stay in the motor. I got a 5/8 head on my spark plug instead of a typical 13/16. The spark plug acts as the gasket seal. They're with gaskets. You don't use the push rod tubes as it, okay? And they're O-ringed inside the cylinder, the valve cover. And also these Mylodon lower seals. I'll put a flashlight on them. They're pieces of shit, really, but I had to put the proper O-ring in there to get it right so the oil wouldn't be going down the hole. They're a quad seal, which means they're a four-sided seal, not a round, just a round O-ring. But what I want to talk about is checking valve lash. The valve lash doesn't change on my motor. I check it often, though, because checking the lash could let you know if something's going wrong. If you got a lifter going away, if your lash increases at all, if it increases a couple thou, stop. You got something going wrong, okay? We're not talking about all-out top fuel drag cars here where, things go wrong all the time. But we're talking about a mild street roller. Like I said, I'm somewhere in the mid to upper sixes. It's a custom ground cam that I had done by Comp Cams. But you want to check your lash just to check, to make sure that it's all consistent. In this particular setup, I'm running 22 cold, 24 cold on the intake and the exhaust. I've come up with that number where they're actually 24, 26 hot. I found out what they were cold. Who likes working on a hot engine, having oil dripping all over the place, because you have to give the oil time to drain back. By the way, these are spacers that I have on there. I don't know if you could see that or not. How to run a 1-inch tall spacer to clear my rockers and clear the valve train because of the valve train, once again, being up and out. Also, on these Donovan valve covers, very rare, very expensive, I had to also modify for rocker clearance on the valve covers themselves. I had to do a lot of checking on this thing before everything went together. In fact, the the spark plug tubes themselves, good thing I checked that. If you look here, I'm going to show you on the intake rocker, you could see, let me get that light's a little too bright, but if you could see, I actually had to machine the intake rockers right there, not taking any strength away. I don't want to hear from any desktop mechanic pros. I've been running these for a long time, but I had to machine these because where the spark plug tubes go through, these were just scuffing on the tubes, and I didn't want to do any damage. But this is a great tool also. This tool is made by LSM, okay? It's for adjusting, and let me just take this out. And I have a 3/8 socket, or 7/16 socket on there, rather. It's actually a torque wrench, too, so you don't over-tighten or under-tighten. I'll even show you. It's made just for this, but you can listen as I pull. See that? Okay? So when you're doing it often, you can wind up beating these things up. And who wants to go and spend the money? Or who wants to strip something out or over tighten where something fails, okay? And it comes with different Allens for different type set screws. So just want to repeat myself, okay? Check valve lash often if you have a solid Valvetrain, okay? Anything going wrong is going to let you know. So the more often you check, the earlier you catch it. For instance, I have bushed roller lifters. I don't run needle bearings. I don't believe in them. They're high stressed. And people don't really think about this, but a roller Valvetrain, I'm running, some decent open pressure. I'm not going to get into my specs. I'm running the springs very close to coil bind, within 50 thou coil bind. You want to run them very close to coil bind. In the old school, it was as much room to coil bind as you could have. That excites the Valvetrain, harmonics, okay? But you want to keep an eye on it, because especially if you're running needle rollers, if one needle roller bearing goes away, if it gets flat, the rest of them are not going to rotate and they're going to stack up on each other. That goes away real fast, guys, and you get those little fucking needles breaking out of a lifter, but by the time you hear it, especially with a loud engine, they've already fell out, went through the motor, they're wetting dick steel, okay? Not so much getting sucked up into the oil system. That's not as likely as they're going to get thrown around by the crankshaft. They're going to get caught on the side of a piston. They're going to embed in a piston, destroy the cylinder, and throw away the engine, okay? I run bushed rollers, the Easy Roll X by Isky. I found to be the best lifter on the market. Also, with the Hemi, the actual lifter bores are notorious, especially on a 92, because of the lifter angle to pushrod angle. The lifter bores where the actual roller lifter goes are known for egging out. You need to check them. And what I mean egging out, the bottom and the top of the hole get wider because of the load, especially if flat tappet cams were run. Remember, this engine's been around since 1958. Who knows who did what to it, okay? My lifter bores are bushed. I had Charlie down at Weston Machine that I know, very good machinist. He used to do all the pro stock blocks, not so much anymore, because you got, three guys building pro stock engines in the fucking world, and everybody's leasing motors. It's just bullshit. I call it fag racing at this point. But I had my lifter bores bushed because the top and bottom of my bore were around 3 thou. You're looking around like, depending on a block, but an iron block, you're looking at like 0.8 to 1/2. 0.0008 to 0.0012 lifter bore to lifter bore to lifter clearance, okay? So I had them rebushed, and they were re-indexed too. They're out because these are factory machined engines, but again, 92s, even 54s and 31s, but 92s are notorious for wiping out lifter bores because they've just been around a long time, very poor oils, and flat tappet cams really put a load. So with the roller lifter in there, the tool steel push rods, I got the best Valvetrain that money could buy. Is it overkill for the street? I don't think so, because if you look at it this way, you make a pass down the quarter mile, it's 1,320 feet, and you're done. You're idling back to the pits, okay? I take one trip home and back, which is about like 40 miles round trip. Think about dividing that by 1/4 mile at a time. And you're saying, okay, I'm not going to red line. Guys, let me tell you, more load is put on a roller lifter at low engine speeds than it is at high engine speeds, because you have lower oil pressure. The lifters aren't floating around as much. Not that you want them launching off the cam, but cycling at a higher RPM makes the lifter live longer. Now, I'm not talking about 10,000 RPM blast with fucking inch 050 valve lift. I'm just talking about in general. Lifters, roller Valvetrains, solid Valvetrains. I'm talking about solid stuff. Hydraulics with lower valve spring pressures is one thing, but when you're getting up into the 700 and change, 800-pound open valve spring pressure on these things, the cycle life, you got to keep an eye on it. So the best way to keep an eye on it is to check your valve lash regularly. If it varies 2 thou, if it changed 2 thou and you're checking it the same way every time, everybody's got a different feel. Some guys like a tight, some guys like a loose. I go for a nice smooth in and out. And the other thing too that I have on here, let me see if I could show it to you. I don't know if I can, but I don't know if you could see it or not. There's lash caps on there. I'm running 11/32 diameter valve stems, not 3/8 that the Hemi came with. Lighten the valve up a little bit because the valve is 200 thou longer. But those lash caps are about 7/16 in diameter, so it gives more footprint for the rocker to roll across and less pulling on the valve guides, all right? And the other thing is, too, these gaskets that I'm using here, these SCE Toughbacks, they have a nice hard coating on one side, and they got a cork coating on the other. I glue these right to my valve covers, cork side to the valve cover, okay? And I use gasket cinch to hold them in place, all right? I had their AccuSeals. The problem with these is they keep compressing and compressing. I don't see if you see how tight they went. That's like 6 different torque cycles. Plus, don't glue them to the valve to the head side on a Hemi like I did with this one, because you see what happened? Trying to check my valve lash, I cut into them. So I'm doing away with these. I'm going with these Toughbacks that are cork on one side, and they have a coating, like a fiber coating, on the other side. They don't compress as much as the other ones, and they will be glued to the valve cover. They will last a long time. All right, so I guess that's about all I could tell you right now about these. But like I said, everybody that's watching my videos, I'm sure you've done valve lash, no doubt about it. I'm not saying this to say that you're an idiot or anything, but the main reason for checking valve lash on these things, especially Hemis have a very brutal valve train. The main reason is to see if the lash has changed. It tells you something's going away. 2000s, stop, look. Look before it's an 1/8 inch. Look before you got the nose whopped off a cam. Look before your engine's coming apart. And if you look down inside there, you can see how dry my plug hole is, because I run these custom-made pieces that I got from Diversitech, and I did a lot of modifying on. And I just want to go one step further and show you what I mean. I'm using a 5/8 head plug, where the factory Hemi plugs were 13/16, and these tubes were closed with just a hole for the spark plug to go through. And this tube, sacrificial piece, the factory Hemi tubes, would be the gasket. No for me. So what I did was I machined these. These are a billet bottom piece. They're a stamped upper piece. I bored these out. So you see, I could pull the valve covers with the spark plugs in place. 5/8 socket comes right through from the other side and pulls the plug out. No oil gets into the combustion chamber. By the way, this is a great little tool. I don't know, what's it called? I bought it off of, I seen an advertisement on Facebook, Michael Pro. This is a beautiful little T-handle here. And not only that, it could go up or down for where you want it. And it's got a little hex end on the end if you need like a little leverage to crack them loose. And this thing, hold on, let me just whack it. Let me see if I can get it to go. That thing spins. It's a beautiful thing. They come right out. But I also torque my spark plugs every time. Brand new spark plug going in with the gasket on it, a gasketed spark plug, 18 thousandths, okay? Don't just go till it's snug. That gasket has to compress. And I recheck them every time. They're 18 every time they go back in. And putting these gaskets on, Edelbrock don't make this shit, but gasket cinch. It's been around since I was in diapers, maybe before, okay? But a little bit of gasket cinch is going to go on the valve cover machine surface, and then on the cork, wait about 10 minutes, stick it on, it'll stay forever. Another thing, too, is you got to watch out with a Hemi. If you notice, these gaskets are notched for valve spring clearance, because we're not using a stock spring here, okay? When you're going with like a 1.550 or a 1.700 valve spring, you see how close it is right there on the spacers, okay? If you didn't have that notched out, or that gasket notched, it would all be hitting, all right? And I do run titanium valve spring retainers too, 10-degree locks, and again, lash caps, all right? Doesn't beat the valve tips up. And also, it gives you a chance when you're going to check your lash to see the condition of your lash caps, okay? And to make sure they're still there. I've taken engines apart with lash caps where guys have over-revved them and floated the valves, and guess what? Found the lash caps, luckily found them laying down on the head. Sometimes you find a lash cap missing and ain't in the head, you better send the magnet into the oil pan and drain that oil. It's down there somewhere if you're lucky. Okay, guys. Mark Spencer, Spencer Speed Shop. little valve adjustment tech. Sorry to bore you. Just trying to help out people that have not really thought about all the things that go into checking valve lash. Not just for checking, but for checking for valve train problems. Mark Spencer, Spencer Speed Shop. Over and out. Goodbye.